Welcome to the Six Again podcast, your new destination for all things NRL. Here to bring you everything from team news to best bets are your hosts Adam Hoy and Jared Newton. Let's kick off.
All right, we're halfway through another week with only 15 days to go before live sport. We're almost through it.
Yeah,
and it's taken its toll.
And we still don't even know who's playing, where they're playing, what's going on.
That's not important.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. I'm sure the betting agencies don't want to hear about it at all.
There has not been... Ooh, that's a really cool idea. They should put the odds up, but without releasing what teams they are, or what teams are which, or who's playing who. Just put the odds up and we've got to try and select who it is and just bet anyway. Responsible.
Yeah. I'm sure TAB would love that.
So yeah, we're still kicking off on the 28th, and as Jared said, no one has any idea of who's playing who. It's not like teams have to prepare, but it's all good. It's almost back, and we need it. Hi, welcome to Six Again. I'm Adam.
And I'm Jared, and true to form, Rugby League has been in the headlines again this week for... Would you say the right reasons?
Oh, mixture.
Again, non-sport reasons that Rugby League seem to jump all over.
Well, there is no sport. That's why they are non-sport reasons.
Well, the anti-vax system is a non-sport issue.
Hey, we're down to one. We're down to one.
So if anyone didn't hear it, tonight got released that Brian Kelly will be playing in the first game. Adam's looking at me funny. Why are you looking at me funny?
I said we'll get to that. But anyway, we'll jump into it now. Let's go.
Sorry, I didn't even Anti-vax. So Brian Kelly has decided to take the flu shot. By the looks of it, Bryce Cartwright's the only one who's going to sit down. Some people throwing out no jab, no pay, no play. So it'd be interesting. The part that kind of annoys me about it is the fact that during this whole COVID thing, no one's actually had the same rules. So, you instead of having like a countrywide decision on something, they've gone state by state. So New South Wales players are fine to play without the jab shot. I'm pretty sure there's like 5 or 6 Cronulla players or something like that, which is kind of ironic towards their history. Haven't had the flu shot.
What?
But,
Where the hell did you get that from?
Well, our last podcast, you said
that was the Canberra players.
Oh, it was a Canberra, was it? Okay, yeah. So
they're
5 or 6 Canberra players.
And since then, Soliola, Papali, and Tapani have all signed the waiver, which will allow them to play in New South Wales, ACT, and Victoria. But they still won't be allowed to play in Queensland, as Queensland has a complete "you must be vaccinated or you are not playing in this state" policy.
Yeah, which kind of annoys me about the fact that that's my point. Like, why can't we work together as a country, not just we'll make one rule for this state and one rule for that state?
Because, Jared, that makes sense.
Oh, it annoys me. It's the same.
There's nothing on a politician's resume that says you must make sense.
It's just... it really does concern me that for a pandemic, a country can't work together. And then on a bigger scale, and this is kind of going off topic, but the country itself can't work together with another country.
What are you talking about?
Well, no one...
There we go, politician Jared. Let's go.
Completely off topic, but Australia... And European countries aren't working together where they're like 20 minutes away from each other at every point. They're just not working together as far as...
Did you say Australia and Europe are 20 minutes away from each other?
No, I meant Australia. The countries aren't working together. And there's European countries that are 20 minutes away from each other that aren't working together. I don't mean Australia.
You know why? Australia, because their borders are shut down, Jared. That's why they can't work together.
They can still talk and communicate and like share ideas and shit.
Yeah, they are. France has shut down its entire sporting program, whereas Germany kicked off theirs this week. So
Yeah. It annoys me that no one's actually treating this as a proper pandemic. Everyone's kind of for themselves.
yeah, there's been no communication between Australia and New Zealand and shutting borders. That hasn't created any issues for the NRL.
Nope.
You've definitely got a career in politics. Just speak out of your ass.
Shut up. Don't like it. I don't like states not working together. Fucking work together.
Oh, we've been locked up too long. So that's all sorted. As Jared said, Bryce Cartwright's the last one sitting down. And if he decides to change his tune at some point, I'm sure the media are going to have a field day, but at least he'll be able to play again. So Titans fans are hoping that he refuses the jab, I'm sure.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
What?
Who else have they got? Like, honestly.
I'm saying it from my brother's point of view. It's fine.
Who else have they got to put in there, though?
Important things. If you are an NRL fantasy player, be sure to jump on and check out your super coach, depending on what company runs yours, whether it be the pay TV station or the certain newspaper of sorts. But most of them are releasing their new rules with regards to the rest of the season. Most of them have been given increased number of trades leading into round 3. And be sure to have a look at bargain buys. My tip, Jamil Hopewadi from Broncos should have a starting spot for at least another 3 weeks, with Pangai and Fafita being out. So I'd be picking him up while he's cheap before his price goes up. So make sure you check those out. Also, injuries. While Ryan James won't be back this season for the Titans, he has been saying that, or he has said that Keegan Hipgrave has been wowing everybody at training. So Hipgrave had 3 concussions last year. So he's just been given the green light to play in round 3. So that's good news for the Titans. And that'll add some much needed aggression. And hopefully for him, he gets through the rest of the season without another concussion. Because they're horrible. And also Chad Townsend dislocated his thumb in the Sharks' first contact session. He got it caught in a player's jersey. It popped out. He popped it back in, but there's a bunch of swelling, so they're keeping him on ice. But he should be right for round 3. And then, of course, Josh Dugan got a cold and then got tested for COVID, and it was negative, but they're locking him up for 48 hours anyway. He just can't not get injured or something. Yeah. He coughs and he gets locked up for 2 days.
Yeah.
Rub this upon yourself.
That'd probably be everyone right now. If anyone coughed, even when they were choking on water, they'd probably bloody get locked up for 2 days the way it's going right now.
That's it. You can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, that Jared's in a dark room all by himself lonesome. Whereas I have light.
Well, there is a light. It's just a bad light. Just relax, okay?
We're seeing the best parts of him. With regards to signings, even though he's suspended for a couple of rounds, Nathan Brown has picked up his player option at Parramatta for 2021. And Jackson Ford has been awarded with an extension based off his form last year. So he was on a rookie contract for the Dragons. He's been extended through to the end of 2022. So
that's a good buy, especially for well, not a buy, but good signing for the Dragons.
And they've got a bunch of those young guys. Like you got Jackson Ford, Jacob Host, Josh Kerr,
Tyrell
Fuimaono. Yeah. It's the same with their winger conundrum. Was it Jason Stubbs put on 10 kilos since lockdowns hit?
Is that true? Is that muscle or fat?
Muscle, supposedly. He's looking more... There's rumours that he's going to be playing more of a Corey Oates style in his first couple of years, like coming on as a second rower instead of on the wing. So you've got Pereira and you've got Lomax and Rivoire.
He was a big human being before that 10 kilos. It'd be interesting how he moves, how quick he is now.
Yeah, there we go. And another thing with regards to the Raiders, before we completely jump off it, there's word out that their home games may be played in Sydney to limit the amount of travel. And while GIO is a fortress mostly for them, John Bateman's come out and said that while he's not playing in round 3, if we do have to move to Sydney, and I quote, "If we use it as an excuse, it will cost us. We can't use excuses." That's a pretty straight up message for his fans and teammates that if we get moved up to Sydney, it is what it is. We can deal with it. We've got a good enough team to beat anyone anywhere. So I think most people would back that. Yeah. Before we get into the big news of tonight, it's come out with regards to Nathan Cleary and Tyrone May. So we went off a couple episodes ago about how dumb the sort of stuff that some of the players were doing. Cleary came out, first of all, just a reminder that said, well, he lied once about some Instagram pics, wasn't it? And then he lied about how long the girls were at his house for. And it's now come out that he actually drove down and picked them up and brought them back to their house as opposed to them just walking up there. So he has been hit with that 30 grand fine by the NRL and suspended for 2 matches. And Tyrone May, who is his housemate, while he didn't do anything wrong with regards to TikTok videos, he also gave misleading information to the NRL when he was questioned, and he's been fined 15 grand and has been suspended for 2 weeks. On top of that, Cleary's been fined $1,000 by New South Wales Police for travelling, for non-essential travel. So, yeah, that's a better fine. 30 grand, 2-game suspension. But he hasn't lost his spot in the Penrith leadership group.
You know what?
Because he came and did a sincere apology.
I'm going to say this one more time because no one is listening at all. And
hey, we've got followers.
No. The fines they're getting, they don't give a shit about those fines. They really don't.
He's not on that much yet.
He gets that in Origin.
Damn it.
So
you have to play Origin for free.
I'm going to say this again for the last time. Get rid of them for the year. People are saying that what they're getting is enough. Clearly it's not, because Nathan Cleary has the balls to lie to his employer.
Yeah, he didn't get fined for what he did. He got fined for lying.
Yeah, and he doesn't care about lying. He lied twice.
Yeah, and they caught him, so he got 30K fine.
Yeah, and he probably lied again.
Well, then make it 10 grand per lie.
Nah, get rid of him for the season. That's the only way they're going to learn.
That won't happen. Yeah, anyway, don't talk fibs, kids. We'll move past that. Friggin' Tyrone May, eh? Sits at home, doesn't dob his mate in, cost him 15 grand in 2 weeks. Yeah, and he's not on big money, so that could
hurt him. Lost half of it last year too.
Mm-hmm. All right, so big news out of tonight. We talked about last week about the refs going from 2 refs back to 1. And I'll have to go back and listen, but I believe we're on record saying it's probably not going to happen at least till the end of this season, because it's a pretty big thing to change in the middle. How wrong we were. It's come out tonight that the NRL will have 1 referee on the main part of the field for the remainder of this season. And I'm guessing going into future seasons, but I guess I'll make a call on this at the end. Mine is... Oh, you go.
Well, from what I know, it's no reason other than to save money.
No, Vlandis has come out and said that when he took charge, he was going to listen to the fans, and he's leaned heavily again on that fan survey at the end of it last year. And again, he's come out and said that the point of the 2 referees was to slow down the rucking infringements in the wrestling, which it has not done. So it's time to try and revert back to what it was.
Before all this stuff happened, I never really knew who this Peter Vlandis was.
He's the CEO of New South Wales Horse Racing.
Yeah, and supposedly he saved racing.
Yeah, he's an amazing operator.
Yeah, so I don't exactly agree how he's gone down the track, but I'm not going to criticise him anymore just because of the fact that
he's getting stuff done.
Yeah, he's getting stuff done. I don't like the order. I've said this before. I don't like the order how things are being done, like without asking permission. But, you know, he's gone with the whole thing. I'd rather ask forgiveness than permission, and it seems to be working out now.
And
I'm pretty critical of the whole situation, but I'm going to say right now I'm wrong.
Because I enjoy his style so far. I have to say, I'm going to bring other sports I watch into it here who have had big decisions to make with regards to whether they continue the rest of their season. And they keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, waiting for things to change. And the talk's gone from that most fans want the talk to go from what's going to happen, when's it going to happen, what impact is it going to have, and all these negative comments come out. Whereas when you've got someone who just takes charge, makes the call, it skips all that talk. And now we're talking about, all right, what teams is this going to suit? How strategy is going to change? We can start talking about all the game stuff instead of, oh, this sucks. How are we going to fix this? Then I was not doing anything. He's made a call. Teams can start preparing. Yeah. I don't think it's going to change that much with regards to preparation because most of these players played all of their careers with one referee till they got to the NRL. And it brings NRL back in line with every other league comp in the world.
Another part of it is throughout the years since I've been really, like, I always watch rugby league, but since I've been following the decisions made in the background, you know, like the CEO and stuff, when something comes out like this that they're thinking about doing it, it might happen next year or 2 years later or minimum 6 months down the track. Peter V'landys is just like, hey, this is how it's going to be. And then it puts it in the back. So I can't fault him for that. It's, you know, good on him.
Yeah. And so with regards to the cost cutting, so obviously there was 2 full-time referees on the field. That's going down to 1. So the full-time referees are now going to be employed as touch judges. So it's also going to give them, as Flandy said, more of a view from the touchline perspective. So your Matt Checkins and the fact that I can't remember, Gavin Badgers and your Henry Perinaras, those guys, one of them will be the referee, the other 2 will be the sideline touchies. So you'll have 3 full-time referees on the field at all times. The touch judges, who are touch judges now, are put into a part-time role going forward. Okay. So touch judges are no longer a full-time job. They're back down to a part-time job, etc., etc.
Let's see how different it is. I'm sure there'll be people complaining about it.
Yeah, so if we thought that was going to be a big change, a rule that we didn't talk about last week was the amendment to the to the ruck infringements call. So the main thing of 2 referees was to lessen the amount of wrestling, minimise the slowness of the play of the ball. By going to 1 referee, supposedly it's going to speeden things up again. But they've brought in a new rule in that the referee has a choice. When there is a ruck infringement, so say hand on the ball during the play of the ball or holding the person down too much in the tackle, the referee can signal 6 again instead of a penalty. What this will allow for the attacking side is momentum from one set to the next. Defense will have to defend 2 entire sets in a row without that break from a penalty. And it's obviously going to advantage some teams over others. So teams that like quick play the balls with a dummy half who scoots. So think of your Damien Cooks from the Rabbitohs, Jake Granville from the Cowboys when he's on his game. And then even if you've got wingers who like their dummy half runs like a Fusatua from the Warriors or Ken Mamalo.
I know he's retired, but Justin Hodges.
Yeah, he would have loved this sort of thing. So that's a pretty big change in the fabric of the game, in my opinion.
So yeah, the Roosters are going to hate this just because of the fact that they won a premiership by blowing penalties in the ruck, which will be good because a lot of people don't like it. I don't like it that much. But
on that though, the Roosters, when they gave away their penalties, they were within 10 metres of their line. So
Is that
It's
going to
not like
be
that.
all right?
I don't know. It's like if you're there, you don't have to backtrack as much. You're not going to continuously if you gave that away 20 metres out from the opposition's line, two sets in a row, you could be defending 12 tackles over 80 metres, whereas here you can just up and back to your try line.
In saying that too, they also relied on the fact that a lot of teams went for two, and they thought they had a plan in place that their attack was always going to be better and could win over those 2 points.
That's true.
So,
and that's the one gripe I have with this. Actually, I've got a couple of gripes with this rule, but I'll come back to the second one in a moment.
I do think we're going to have a grand final reenactment when someone calls six again and they don't think it's six again and kick. But
I don't think that'll happen because the point of that, the reason why that happened was there was two referees giving two different signals.
I'm just saying if the referee doesn't yell loud enough. That's what I mean. Like, it's not the same circumstance, but it's the same kind of thing where it's like a referee yells it and then a halfback's so determined where he's going to put this kick, he doesn't realise it, you know what I mean? And puts the kick in.
Do you reckon they'll blow the whistle and say six again as well?
Nah, because as soon as you blow a whistle in a rugby league field, everyone stops. So they've got to do the arm thing and six again.
Yeah, this is true.
One thing I hate on the referees, just throwing it out there, that they, you know what I really hate about it? They call the players by their names.
Yeah, I hate that too.
It shits me off. I know that's kind of off topic.
Way too personal.
Numbers. That's what they should be doing.
Number 11, number 6, number 7. No, I 100% agree. Because if you're talking to them as names, they're going to be talking to the ref as names. And it should be yes ref, no ref.
I remember one time, I know people aren't going to agree with Kirk Gidley, but Kirk Gidley was wearing number 21 one game because he came back from injury. And I can't remember who it was, but someone else was wearing 1. And they're at marker, and Kirk Gidley was back at fullback. And they called out Kurt, you're offside, because they saw the number 1. Newcastle number 1 was back then, was Kirk Gidley. They blew the penalty. Then old mate turned around and said, it wasn't me. And I said, I called your name 4 times. He goes, no, you called Kurt, not me.
Yeah.
And that shit happens a lot more than you think. So they can't do that. They got to call numbers.
I just hate how personal it is. Yeah. If you're playing footy, the referee's in charge. They're the most important or most obviously authoritative figure on the field. They shouldn't be speaking to the players on the same level. They shouldn't be using familiar names. It should be 1, 20, 1, 2, 14, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's right.
No, 100% agree with that. I don't think it probably wasn't until the media started talking about that I even noticed that there was wrestling and slowing down to play the ball in the game. I really didn't mind it. I thought it was just tactics, well coached, all that sort of stuff. And I don't think rugby league needs to get any faster. It looks like, I think this rule is going to turn it a bit more into touch footy and endurance. It's going to take a lot of the contact out of the game, which I like. These sort of rules have already cut out some of the fabric that we grew up playing, like getting taught how to make a legs tackle, where you get down, chopping. As soon as you chop someone with the legs, you've got to let go, and you've done quite possibly the most efficient and effective tackle there is in the league field. Now we're told to hit up high and grapple and wrestle.
Yeah, well,
stop them just doing that with them standing up as opposed to on the ground, and that's crappy techniques. You see them do it from like 6 meters out against a David Fafita, and they wonder why they get scored against. You chop his legs from 6 meters out, he's not scoring.
And shit like that takes away from junior football.
Yeah.
So when you're like 6, 7, that's the first thing you're taught, to hit their legs, and then when you get really good at that till about probably 11, 12 years old. And you're told, no, you can't do that anymore because doesn't slow the play of the ball down. I hate that out of rugby league. That's come out of rugby league, and that's been a part of wrestling. But I don't think it can be completely blamed on wrestling just because of the fact that NRL wanted to be fast, and you can't be So. How do I explain it properly?
I don't think it's going to make it. That's a huge change. It's it's literally going to turn it into small, fast dudes pretty much completely controlling the game. And your guys who like to put shots on, the guys that we like to watch put shots on, the point, if you're in defense and you're trying to slow them down, it also allows your defensive line to set up. And if you can set up, you can line up to put a shot on. If you're continuously on the back foot, it's making it an attacking-only game. And half of league is defense. And some of the best parts of league is defense. So you can still get away with your big shots. Well, every now and then it's becoming less and less.
Yeah. And
prevalent.
A lot of people blame Melbourne Storm for bringing wrestling, which, you know, they would have first.
Jealousy.
They brought a wrestling coach, the first one, but you can't put it towards them because, as we said before, legs tackles are out. So they had to find another way to get people on the ground, on their back, to do it. So it's not their fault. That was as quick as to find a way to get past these new rules.
Yep.
So people blame the Melbourne Storm for what they've come out with, but just because they're smarter and ahead of the curve than everyone else, why are you getting mad at them? It's bullshit.
That's generally when the blame game happens.
Yeah.
If you're going to do something like this, and then there's still talk about minimising the interchange. It's going to look completely. It's going to be completely different.
Going to love life.
Yeah, and it's the other part of it is the referees still hold the right to issue penalties if they choose. I'm not sure what is going to be the differentiation of the referee to blow a penalty or call 6 again. That'll be interesting. They can still sin bin a player for repeated infringements or a professional foul. But there was nothing so far in the write-up that states whether the team getting the 6 again call has a choice. Now, if you're 25, 30 metres out from the opposition's goalpost and they give away a ruck infringement, is it up to the ref to call penalty or 6 again? Because if it's a tight game, I want to be taking that shot 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
I want to be taking that shot 9 times out of 10. But if 6 again's called, but I wanted a penalty, who makes that differentiation? So if it's 20 all.
I didn't even think of that.
That's what the first thing I thought of. Does the team get a choice in this? Say, no, we don't want 6 again, we want the penalty.
Nah, because how's that going to look? They're just going to stop.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, if it's 20 all with 3 minutes to go and they give away a rucking infringement, but the ref calls 6 again, you're like, no, we want the penalty.
Does the referee choose what part of the game it's going to be?
But he can't, because if the referee then chooses, do I give this a penalty or 6 again, then he's biased towards that team.
Yeah, that's going to make it super messy, isn't it?
They haven't said anything about that.
Yeah, and guarantee you that will happen. That's a big deal.
And one thing that I still don't get about rugby league compared to rugby union is our halfbacks and our kickers seem to not be able to kick the ball more than 20 metres upfield when we get a penalty anyway. In play, they can boot it 40, 50, 60 metres, but as soon as there's a penalty, they kick it over the sideline like 12 metres in front of where they are.
Yeah,
I don't get why we're not kicking. Yeah, but there's not that much on the line compared to... If your defense is good enough, you'll be getting it back in good field position. I don't get... If you've got a decent kicker, 6 again's good, but if you actually learnt to kick and took a chance and backed yourself, you could pick up 50 metres in one go anyway. And then you can set everything up.
For you, would there
that's
be
just
a
saying
rule
separate. I just don't get why we don't kick further for touch.
Would there be a rule in union that you'd bring in for league? What would it be?
2-on-1 rake.
Nah, because fair enough. I'm not.
I just get shitty when there's someone's carrying the ball. It's a loose carry, and there's 2 people involved in the tackle, and they get called for a strip when the dude's gone in with a shitty. Your responsibility as a ball carrier is to look after the footy.
Yeah.
If you're good enough to get an offload away, against one person, you're generally good enough to get an offload away against two people.
Yeah. Okay.
Your Fleety Mateos, your Justin
Sonny
Hodges
Bills
was quite good at it. Your Sonny Bills, but it's not even the big guys. Who's the one I'm thinking of from Canberra? Always hit Josh Hodgson in and around the ruck.
it's not Bateman, is it?
It might have been.
Yeah.
But,
Bateman or Whitehead.
Yeah, but if you can take the ball into contact with two people control it and still get the offload away, you really deserve to get the offload away. If you go in there with a half decent carry and the other guy puts a finger on it, falls out, and they get called for a strip, that's bullshit. So I like 2-on-1 rake.
My rule would be the fact that if the ball goes out, you can pass it back in.
Yeah, it's cool.
So, if probably bring up the example of 2015 grand final in the last half hour when Broncos were just putting the ball on the sideline.
Bad coaching.
Yeah. So, But if in the last 10 minutes you got the team winning by 2, just putting the ball out for the sideline, if they kicked it out and it's going out and you had a winger sprinting back, pick it up, and he could pass it back in.
Yeah, I'd love that.
How much more intensity do you reckon that kick chase is going to have?
It's simple and it'd have much smaller impact on the game than this one, but in those awesome moments, it'd provide a chance to return the ball in more broken field than a standard kick chase.
And it'd make everyone chase.
Yeah,
100% make it everyone chase. I love it. I reckon it'd be fantastic.
I've got not a number. The only other rule, well, that's a completely different. That's a rule change as opposed to bringing in something from Union. But yeah, I'd be happy with both of them. I think it still keeps the fabric of the game live. You can still offload if you're good enough, and it keeps your keeps the ball. The second one keeps the ball in play, and it means that we don't have to have scrums.
Yeah, well, and also I just love the idea of, you kick it and you got to know you have to chase, otherwise they're going to bring the ball back no matter what.
Yeah,
I love that. If you got a shit kick chase, but the ball goes out still, there's still a chance they can run it back at you, which I reckon is just.
And it doesn't happen as often as you usually think, anyway. But Australian teams don't tend to do it. New Zealand teams do it a lot more.
But it just puts more emphasis on your kick chase. That's what I love about it.
Which is one of the fundamentals. Yeah. Yeah,
so I really like it. You've got, imagine, I don't know, Kalen Ponga, and you didn't kick chase, and you put the ball out, Edric Lee passes the ball to him. He's got 40 metres in front of him when no one's there.
That'd be sick. I like that.
Yeah.
We can do a whole half episode on rule changes. That's cool.
Yeah, so I like your point about what can happen with who decides on it can impact the play a lot. I think that's the biggest hole in this new rule. Now I'm thinking about it properly. You can't have a referee dictating whether it's going to be a penalty or a 6 again. That you got to give them a go. You're pretty much. Does
the coach get a say in it? Does the coach get to yell down and go, no, we want a penalty here. We don't want a 6 again.
Well, they might hear him out of the crowds, but
it's a pretty big black hole. Like, obviously they would have talked about it, but there's been no information about it yet. So
so it'd be interesting how, in a grand final, if that happens, that'd be huge.
And the other thing is, these teams have been training and coached for the last 10 years on structures of stoppages in play, scrums and penalties. That's gone out the window at the end of 6 weeks where they haven't been training. So they've got a week and a half to say, by the way, we're going to be having way less chances to do this.
Yeah.
You can't do that at the end of a 6 again because it's going to be so frantic, because in order to get the advantage, you want to take it straight away.
Yeah.
So if you just get 6 again, but then allow them to get back 10 and set, it's the same anyway. So I like what they're trying to do. I just think there's other ways they could have gone about it.
And like you said, if you ask the other team, the team who's getting the penalty, it will slow it down anyway while they make the decision.
Yeah.
So there's no advantage to it really, because at one hand you're going to have a referee pretty much deciding the fate of a game. On the other hand, you're going to slow down the game, which you're trying to get rid of in the first place.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting if more information comes out about this. They may be explaining it right now. All we knew, this dropped before the pod, so we'll find out.
For me, it has to be one or the other, penalty or 6 again, not referee's discretion.
All right. Sorry, that was probably really loud and the mic was just me turning the page. All right. Last 4 teams. Looking into round 3, which is 15 days away, 2 weeks.
Yeah, okay. So what teams are looking at?
Roosters, St George, Warriors, and Tigers.
Okay.
Kicking off with the Roosters with their 0-2 start to the season.
Yeah, I'm just grabbing them here. Oh, where are you?
So Roosters went down 20-14 to Penrith in week 1, and then 9-8 to the Sea Eagles in round 2.
Yeah, okay. So I got it here. I don't see many of the changes. The only thing really is there's a slight question mark over Boyd Cordner, but they think he'll be available.
Yeah.
But other than that, they've pretty well got their team. And the other change will be the other Morris twins coming in. So yeah, they've got a pretty standard team there. Any team that can have Angus Crichton come off the bench is pretty good in my book.
Oh, Crichton will be starting.
Well, Mitch Orbison's at 12, they reckon. And in saying that too, he kind of deserves his spot the way he's played over the years. So I'm not overly mad at it. But their bench, you got Verrills, Crichton, Liu, and Butcher. And then, so I don't see that many changes coming in for the Roosters, and they're pretty well set everywhere they are, all over the park. They're going to be hard to beat.
And there's no injury concerns with the Roosters at the moment that we know about. Yeah. I'm just trying to bring up the casualty.
Like I said, the only real question mark is Cordner. He missed the first 2 games. And from what I understand, they kind of put him in cotton wool those first 2 games anyway.
Yeah.
Just so he's going to have a big season no matter what. Australian captain, New South Wales captain,
that's
Roosters
the one.
Captain.
So Tilly Tonga-Mapia, knee indefinite, but he was only in the first couple of weeks because Cordner was out anyway. So
yeah. So,
but they are 0-2, and one of them was against Penrith. So they've still got games, at least 1 game each against the Broncos, the Storm, the Rabbitohs, the Raiders.
Yeah.
And you take those 4, there's a chance they lose all 4 because they're all pretty decent teams. And even the Cowboys, if they have to travel up to North Queensland, and they're that pack of that 0-2 start, they've got to be going, 11 and 7 for the rest of the season. So,
and that's just a scraping. So
that's a scrape.
I imagine the Roosters can do it.
Oh, they
I wouldn't
can.
be surprised. Yeah.
But it's the only one of, say, I know the
major
top teams that they versed was Manly, and that was a bloody arm wrestle of a game. So,
yeah. All right. So moving on to the Dragons.
Yeah.
Everywhere is pretty good. They're expected to welcome back Cam McInnes, Tarek Sims, and Corbin Sims. So, out of all the coronavirus issues, they've probably got the best run because they get those 3 back for major injuries. It's got on. I have.
Oh, they're 0-2 as well, by the way.
Yeah, I have Tyrell. If you want to Tyrell, what's his last name?
Fui Mayano.
They have him on the bench because of his form. I would put him in the back row over Tarek Sims right now. Mm-hmm. So he has been killing it. I think he deserves it.
He's playing for a guy who's going for a contract, which he is.
Yeah, so I really like the idea. And they've also got, and this is on NRL.com, Blake Laurie at lock over Trent Merrin. If Paul McGregor does go that way, it's a big call. I don't mind it. Blake Laurie's been playing well.
Yeah, he started lock the first 2 weeks. I think it was still about just Merrin getting back up to NRL speed.
Like, if Merrin... I like the idea of the Dragons picking on form. And
It's
I feel like
refreshing.
they have to do it. And the form players in their team have been Blake Laurie and Fui Maango. So go for it.
Yeah, and like I said, they are 0-2. They lost that shootout against Penrith 38-22 in round 2. And they went down to, I believe, the Tigers in round 1. 24-14. So again, they're another one in that 0-2 hole. And a real big downside, you wouldn't consider Penrith and Tigers generally near one of the stronger teams in comparison to some of the others. So they've still got, say, the big players all still to come. So Dragons are one of those teams that have to hit the ground running, literally to keep their season alive, because if they start off with a couple of losses, they're in a big hole.
Probably having Cam McInnes back is probably going to help them.
That's going to be huge,
I reckon. Yeah, so... And in saying that too, Luke didn't do too much wrong at hooker.
No, he looked quite good.
So, that he's just going to come on and add a bit more spark to him. So they could go reasonably far if, one, their coaches pick on form and who deserves it.
Yep.
And two, if they have the potential there with Norman and Hunt, they just got to do the right thing on the field, really. Like, they can go either way. That's what they're known for. And there's only 18 games left. So if Ben Hunt and Corey Norman hit form at the right time, they could do anything, really.
Did you mention Ravalawa would be back as well?
I haven't got him in here.
Sorry, that was a big yawn. My bad. And then, like I said, Jason Stubbs put on some muscles. So it's going to be interesting who's going to get those back spots.
Yeah, so on this spot, they've got, I don't know what they're going to do because they highly touted Zach Lomax at fullback.
I think Duffy looked quite good when he got back. So
yeah, so they've got him at fullback and Lomax on the wing. That was the big talking point that came out of Dragons, and then what did it last one game with Lomax at fullback and when Duffy came back.
Yeah.
So
because their centres were Willie Army and Laffey with Aitken left out. So
yeah, and they reckon Aitken's going to move on next year anyway.
Yeah, Manly's sniffing around. Looks like a Sully Aitken switch, and I'd probably prefer to keep Sully, honestly. But
you're going to cry if that happens. You're losing about 40 kilos in your back line.
Yeah, well, you put Brad Parker and Ewan Aitken. There's two of the exact same centre, just defence and.
Okay,
Let's
yeah.
move on.
So
I'm getting depressed.
It'd be interesting if what happens with Lomax and Duffy, but
Duffy at fullback, Lomax on one wing,
probably.
And take your pick.
Okay, we got Tigers next.
Sure.
Okay, so the biggest thing here is hooker. Are they going to put Harry Grant in?
Yep, straight in.
I reckon they should. But in saying that too,
since Farah.
Here's your question. We're talking about form earlier. Who would you have off the bench? Reynolds or Billy Walters?
Luke. Oh yeah, because Luke Brooks will be back.
Yep. Who would you have? I would. You know who I'm going to say? I'm going to say Walters. I'd put him straight in there.
Well, it looks like Reynolds and the Bulldogs are already trying to sniff out a deal, doesn't it, to bring him home? So
yeah. Yeah, and Mbai's back as well. He'll probably slot straight into centre because Momorowski's gone.
Have you ever seen a player go from such a high to such a low and just not get any spark back? Mbai was on fire when he kicked off, and then he's just...
I think Mbai, his biggest problem was being named captain of the Bulldogs, too young of age. I think it would have been better if he just put him on the field and played instead of
let him play. I don't even know what his best position is anymore.
I reckon his best position is fullback. He was a 5'8" growing up.
Oh, who's the Tigers fullback? I don't even know at the moment.
Dewey.
Oh, that's right. They signed him to play fullback, didn't they? So they're not going to take that off him.
Yeah, but I would honestly, because they got Mbai in the centres and Dewey at fullback.
Yeah, switch him up.
I would have Mbai at fullback. I reckon he's got the hands, he's got the speed.
Yeah.
Sniffing around the arc can be really good. Dewey's a good player, but he's more of a ball player, not a runner. So, yeah.
You got Thomas Mikaele coming back as
Yeah.
well. And you just put a line through Jacob Little and Russell Packer. So, and Luke Brooks coming back. So I guess they're all positives. Like I said, they started the year with a win over the Dragons in round 1. Just having a look at their round 2. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. Where are we? Oh, yeah, they got smoked by the Knights, 24-42. So they're 1-1, and they've taken on the Dragons and the Knights. So, again, they still have a lot of the heavy hitters still to come. In the Eels, Storm, Sharks, Roosters, Eagles, Raiders, Broncos, Rabbits. Okay, so they're at 50-50. So they're looking at, 10-8 for the rest of the season that they'll be needing to sneak a finals position. Like I said, they've literally done half the job of what they could have done so far. They get their recruits back. They'll pretty much have a full-strength side going into round 3 on whoever they verse. And the upside is they're one of the Sydney teams. So in and around Sydney, it looks as though if they bring the Raiders up, they may have less travel to do, which will aid them. They don't have to go to New Zealand, obviously. Yeah. So I know letting that Knights game away from them may come back to hurt, but
that game against Newcastle, when Michael Maguire won his premiership with South Sydney, they were rough, tough, and they had a great attitude. That game against Newcastle, I feel like 3 tries from Newcastle, I think, were Newcastle putting the ball up in the air and catching the ball over the top of someone during the contest.
Yeah.
If they keep that attitude for like 4 of these games the rest of the season, they're done. It was like, I'm not even going to say Newcastle played well in that game. They leaked 24 points still, and one of them was Josh Reynolds' try. So, I don't think that I do think if Raiders keep their attitude the way they played against Newcastle, they're done. They played really, really bad. It wasn't a good game to watch. People might have liked it because of points, but it wasn't that many.
It wasn't high quality.
No, it was shit. That's the best way to put it. There was like Newcastle.
I think we talked about that. The 9-8 and 12-10 score lines of the Seagulls, Roosters, Storm, Sharks are much better games.
Yeah. So this game just.
Yeah, last one we got Warriors, and they're 0-2. 20-0 loss to Newcastle in round 1. 20-6 loss to the Raiders in round 2, which was up at Seabus when they were based out of Kingscliff. So we know all about the Warriors. They've been housing out at Tamworth. David Fusatua is now in Australia in isolation by himself. Quarantine by himself for 2 weeks before he can catch up with the rest of the team.
The biggest news.
Yeah.
So the biggest news coming from the Warriors is Jazz Tevega's back. So
he's such a good player. If you guys haven't watched Jazz Tevega, and you watch one Warriors game at all this year, watch this kid play.
So their attack should help, but in saying that too, they've scored 6 points in 2 games.
Yep.
And I'll say it again, Newcastle's defence was not that good against the Warriors that first round.
It says on here Nathaniel Roach is knee mid-season, but he's come over to travel with the team, so you'd expect him to be getting some time as well.
Kearney needs to make a decision what's going on in the halfback or 5'8" position.
And hooker.
Obviously, Harris Tavita started there. They bought Nicarima for a reason.
Not the right.
I don't know what they got to do to unlock their attack. They're the Warriors. Warriors have always been flashy, really good at attack. It's just,
if there's going to be any team who's going to benefit from the 6 again rule, it'll be Warriors with Mamalo and Fusatua, and then also Cody Nicarima, one of the best dummy half runners. So it's probably the best thing he's got in his game.
Well.
Yeah. So if any team's going to benefit from them, it's probably that's going to be the Warriors.
Yeah.
They're 0-2 with a negative 34 point differential. They're not in a great spot, and at least they verse the Raiders. They've gone down to the Knights. They looked like literally nothing in that first round. 20-0.
Yeah. So Newcastle played better in the first round than they did in the second round.
True.
But their attack's a lot better than their defence. The defence was good, but I think it's our left side, horrible, and Warriors were not able to exploit that. With the players they've got, they should be able to. They scored more than 6 points in 2 games. Let's put it that way. So
yeah, they should. So
Warriors have a lot of changing up to do. So
with regards to our top 8, I think out of those 4 teams, we both had Roosters in the top 8. And even based on their 0-2 start, I'm still going to hold them in there. But I've got to be honest, these first 2 weeks back are going to make an impact. If they lose both, I'm going to be willing to drop them out at that time. If they're 1-1, depending on how they play, if they're 0-4, they then need to go on a 13-5 run to finish the season.
Out of every team in the competition,
no, that can't be right, because that's 18. It'll be down to 16. They'll have to go on they'll have to go on an 11-3 run to finish.
I can see that happening with the Roosters. Out of every team in the competition,
I can see it happening too.
Yeah. But unless they go 0 and probably 5, or no, 0
well, if they
and
go
7.
0 and 5, then they need to win 13
the first
straight.
3 games. So I think if they go 0 and 7, that means
that's including the first 2.
11 to win. So they don't. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I wouldn't be counting out the Roosters at this point.
No. I'm not counting them out yet, but it's going to be interesting to see how the first 2 weeks go.
I'm still waiting to see who's.
I may drop them
team.
in my 8. I may drop them from where I've got them in my 8, definitely. Out of it altogether, yeah, can't say for at least another couple of weeks.
I don't. Yeah.
So that's our wrap of all 16 teams. Leading into round 3, we've got another few episodes before then, hopefully including another interview, and we're just going to continually update things like injuries and all that sort of stuff. Now, continuing our bracket with greatest teams from 88 to 2020. Now, this week's really cool because we've had 2 teams sent in by listeners. We've got a Broncos team sent in by one B. Taylor. I believe that's Ben Taylor, sending in his greatest Broncos team of 88 to 2020. So thank you, Benny. And we've also got a Bulldogs team sent in by, was it James Downs? No, we know his name is one of our mates. He sent in, he's an avid Bulldog supporter, so he's shot his 88 to 2020 team in as well. So we're going to have a look at their teams. They're the teams that will go into the bracket, the boys' teams that they've sent in. But we've also done up our versions of changes that we'd make based on their teams as well. So where do you want to start, Jared?
Let's go with Hazard's. Oh, sorry, James Downs is a Hazard.
Hazard.
Is the Hazard. So we're going to put his Bulldogs team in first.
All right. Read him out.
Okay, so he's got a... He's
Are we
pretty
going
well set
to
in
include
team.
his amendment, or are we going to keep it as
We're going to put his amendment in. We're going to put his amendment in. Okay, so he's obviously got the general at fullback. I think that's a no-brainer for Bulldogs.
That's fine. You've got no brain. It's all good.
Okay, and then he's got Hazem El Mazri on the wing with Matt Utai on the other wing. And then you got in the centres, current player actually, not for Bulldogs, Josh Morris, and then a Kiwi international, Nigel Vunganar. So that's a pretty decent back 5. I like it. And then you got in the halves, Terry Lamb at 6 and Brett Sherwin at 7. So biggest thing for me, and I'm not criticising at all, biggest thing for me is I actually asked this question straight away when I saw the team. Steve Mortimer retired in '88. So that's a big call. It's not as far as playing history, like the amount of time in there. Brett Sherwin wins over Steve Mortimer because it is between '88 and 2020.
That's all you need to say. Move on.
Steve Mortimer. Whew.
If you look over a whole career, then yes, Mortimer would definitely be in there above Sherwin. But
yeah, but 88 from '88 onwards. No. Okay, so he's got the big fella himself. He'd make every other team in the competition. Steve Price at front row with Shrek, Marco Mealy at 10. He's got a relatively unknown but really solid player in Jason Hetherington at 9. And then your back row, you got Willie Mason, Andrew Ryan, and what would you call him? A bit of a workhorse, and Tony Grimaldi. He's pretty, he's solid, pretty good player.
Massive nose, ugly dude.
And then you got he's actually
did wear the tape sometimes, which I do love.
Yeah, and then at utility, he actually played for the old Nambour Crushers. Craig Polamanta. He's really talented player, really good. And then you got the current captain, Josh Jackson. And then you got the ex-captain, or the XX, was Moses Mbye was between those two, wasn't he? James Graham. And then you got the hard as nails, Travis Norton. So... did you
have Braith and Astor in there anywhere?
No. He swapped him out for Terry Land. Yeah. So Hazard's spiel on this team would be he backs the team's defence, which is right. That's a pretty bloody good defensive team. There's a lot of minutes in this team. So, which is not wrong. There's a hell of a lot of minutes. So, yeah, that's our mate Hazard's team. Shout out to Hazard taking the time to do that for us.
Cheers, Jack.
So, yeah.
Cheers. I was going to say cheers, Jamie. Cheers, Haz. I didn't mind his team, and I did love his justification that there's lots of defense and minutes in this team. Kind of reminds me of the Bulldogs teams of the last 4 years. Lots of minutes, lots of defense, not many points. So I made a couple of amendments to it. Like I said, we're going to keep Hazard's team in our bracket, but I love watching Luke Patton play, but I can't get out of my head that the few seasons this guy played with his team created his entire reputation for the rest of his contracts in the NRL, which is Ben Barber, and I don't believe you can leave him out.
He only had 2 more contracts in a row and he didn't even play for one of them.
Yeah, well, he still got him. So I've got Benny Barber at fullback. El Masri, Vungana, Morris the same. Daryl Halligan has to be in there, not just because he was an awesome friggin' winger, but because of his goal kicking. Him and El Masri you'll never miss. Same with Lamb, Sherwin, Price, O'Mealy, Mason and Ryan. I've got Ennis at hooker rather than Hetherington. Do rate Hetherington, great player. I think Ennis just provides a little bit more creativity out of there with his ball playing and deception. And you've got to have Sonny Bill. I don't care what you think of him as a person, as a player. He started at the Bulldogs. He got put on the world stage at the Bulldogs. He was the shoulder charge in him and Willie Mason, the Bash brothers. They've got to be together in the second row with Ryan. I've got Josh Jackson and Graham on my bench as well, but I've put David Clemmer on the bench with Braith and Nasta. So I've missed out Polamanta and Luke Patton, and honourable mentions to Roy Asatasi and Willie Tonga, and also Will Hopewadi of the newer breed. But I'm looking at forward pack going Steve Price, Marco Mealy, Willie Mason, Sonny Bill Williams, Andrew Ryan, Josh Jackson, James Graham, David Clemmer. If Josh Jackson is your smallest forward, or Andrew Ryan, that's a pretty big forward pack. So we're going to go with Hazard's team, but I'm going to back mine against his.
Okay, moving on to Benny Taylor. You got that in front of you?
Did you do your Bulldogs team?
I don't have a Bulldogs team.
You didn't do one. All right, cool.
I'm backing Haz.
Well done, Haz. You're in the bracket so far, along with our Manly, Newcastle, Tigers, and Warriors. All right, so this Broncos team is sent in from Ben Taylor, a Brisbane native himself. So we went through and had a crack at our Broncos teams, and we believe that Broncos, probably along with Melbourne, are going to be two of the front runners in this comp, because I believe between Ben's team, my team, Jared's team, there are 6 or 7 changes based on how many damn good players the Broncos have had in their short-ish existence. So we'll read off Benny's team as it was when he sent in. So at fullback, he has Lockyer, then Takiri and Brent Tate on the wings, Steve Renoff, the Pearl, and Hodges in the centres. Lewis and Langer in the halves, with Webke and Petro Sivanasiva at prop. Kerrod Walters at hooker. Tony Carroll, Gordon Tallis in the second row, with Brad Thorne at lock. And I kind of like what he's done here on the bench. He's really mixed things up. So he's got Carmichael Hunt as a utility, Payne Haas, Sam Thaiday, and David Fafita. Now, he does have a list of honourable mentions here, with a bunch of names, including Miles, Sailor, Lazarus, Icon, Falau, etc., to show the calibre of players that were left out. An intensely talented-looking team, regardless of how you look at it.
Yeah,
Any changes on your behalf, Jared?
Okay, so I got Lockyer at fullback. I've actually got Sailor and Takiri on the wings. I reckon they're probably one of the most dominant pair of wingers ever. They were just talented, big, strong, quick. Mm-hmm. And then I've got Renoff and Hodges in the centres. I had trouble with the halves, and I know people aren't going to like this, but Wally Lewis only played 2 years there, okay? I know he played for a lot of times in bloody local Brisbane comps. In saying that too, other than Walters, there's no other 5'8", and Lewis is immortal, so he is there, but...
Pretty sure Lockyer played 5'8".
Yeah, but name a better fullback they've had.
That's your story.
Yeah. The same goes to the halfback. I don't like Langer, but he's the only halfback they've really had in their career, in their history, so he's there. I couldn't go past Lazarus at front row.
Yeah. I think that's one that Jared and I agreed on, that Benny looked over, but he is in the honourable mentions.
Yeah. And then I got Kerrod Walters at hooker. They didn't, other than Berrigan, there wasn't that many. They haven't produced that many great hookers. They've had a few go through, like Ennis played for them. So yeah, they've had a couple
McCulloch,
go. Like,
Granville.
you can put McCulloch in there, but yeah. Then I got Petro Sivanasiva at front row. Pretty obvious pick there. And then comes the millions and millions of potential of international and origin players at the back row.
Oh, man. I've just changed my back row just then, by the way.
I've got Brad Thorne, the New Zealand Queenslander, you bunch of cheats. Gordon Tallis, obviously. And I've actually got Parker at lock. Goal kicking forward, which is really good. Captained him for a long time. He was, I reckon he's up there. And then I've got Gilmeister at 14. I don't have an actual definite utility. I couldn't take any of these players out. So I've got Gilmeister at 14, Webke on the bench, and I've got Gillett and Friday rounding out the bench. I couldn't get rid of Gillett and Friday. I just couldn't do it. I reckon they've been great servants for the Broncos.
Yeah, I don't even have either of them in, and therein lies the Broncos' depth. Like,
yeah,
I don't have Gillett or Thaiday. Neither of Jared or I have Haas or Fafita, whereas Ben has included Thaiday, but hasn't included Lazarus. So you're looking at, there's so many just...
Yeah. I would say...
None of us have got Israel Folau, and he was pretty damn good. Well, none of us have Ben Ike, and none of us have Dane Carlaw, Willie Kahn.
Shane Perry, I mean, come on.
Scott Minto.
Yeah, no, they've had to pick a Queensland's talent for ever since half of Queensland since 95 when Cowboys came in, and then Gold Coast aren't really making a dent yet. So, well, that's what it is, isn't it?
Well, I'm just trying to have a look here, before I complete my selection here. Brad Thorne, when he played for the Bronx, was he predominantly second row, or did he play a bit of lock? Yeah, it's all second row.
Yeah, he's a second row.
I can't play him as a lock. I know Benny's put him in as a lock, and I understand that because there's so many back rowers, but I'm just going to have to shift mine around a little bit to be able to...
At the time, they had Tony Carroll, so there's no way.
There's no.
We'll admit Tony Carroll played a lot in the centres as well for Broncos.
Yeah, no, I've just shifted around because, I can't not have Gene Miles in. It was just way too creative out there. I'm not putting him in the centres, but I found a spot for him. So, backline's pretty much the same, except I've put in Michael Hancock ahead of Lottie Takiri. But I agree with Jared here that Wendell Saylor over Tate, and Tate was freaking outstanding for the Broncos as well. But I've got Lockyer at fullback, Hancock and Saylor on the wing, with Renouf and Hodges. So I think between Lockyer, Renouf and Hodges, you've got enough creativity that you can just have two hard-running, solid wingers in Hancock and Saylor who are just going to run for meters all day and run over people. Hancock doesn't have the height and the jump of Takiri, but he brings a hell of a lot of aggression, which wasn't really part of Takiri's game. Lewis and Langer in the halves. To me, the Broncos' best ever forward in Sivana Siva. Starting prop with Glenn Lazarus. Kerrod Walters at hooker. And I've just shifted my back row around. Tallis and Thorne in the second row, and I've gone with Carroll as my starting lock. I've scratched out Corey Parker, which allows me to put Gene Miles onto the bench, incoming at centre or second row, with Gilmeister and Webke. And my utility is Sean Berrigan. I believe that he's one of the victims on such a star-studded squad, and he was there kind of over two generations of Broncos teams. Kind of gets overlooked because of his utility status, almost like I believe Cooper Cronk did at the start of his representative career, but he did a hell of a lot for that team. He did a hell of a lot for Queensland. I'm just trying to bring up his stats here for someone who was predominantly...
See, the poor guy
for
Queensland for a long time. He came up, he was in Queensland's probably, if you can call it, bad era. Like they went about 4 years when New South Wales. Queensland won a few, but New South Wales more dominant. And he would have been a lot better rated higher if he, one, left the Broncos. It was a really good point you made that he was in a star sort of team. And two, if Badiris wasn't around, he would have been an Australian hooker if Badiris was. I know he played for Australia a few times, but he probably would have started more at hooker if Badiris wasn't. But, you could say the same thing for Michael Ennis and Cam Smith.
Just looking at it here, he played 186 games for the Broncos. And in most clubs, that'd be a really high number. For the Broncos, they've got a lot of players around that. Yeah. But he played at the top level in the world at a hooker, as hooker, centre, halfback, and 5'8". 186 games with 77 tries. Now, that's freaking outstanding for a utility that is known plus his Queensland origin, plus his Australian. And I think I'm looking at that team like, shit, man. On the bench, you got Berrigan and Miles. Between those two, you've covered every position bar wing and fullback, maybe.
Berrigan can play fullback. I'm pretty sure
he could. Like, centers definitely, halves definitely. Miles gets all the back row locks, centers.
I reckon.
Between the three teams we put together, they're freaking outstanding, all of them.
I reckon, and I'm going to say this, I reckon he played 2006 NRL Grand Final in the centres. Sean Berrigan did. That's what I reckon he did.
Let's have a look.
I'm having a look right now. And for that reason alone, because he only would have put there as a defensive centre up against, he won the Clive Churchill in 2006. No, sorry, Brent Tate and David Stagg.
David Stagg was centre. Holy shit.
And he came up against Matt King and Greg Inglis. So there's a bit of a mismatch right there. And Sean Perrigan.
He was playing hooker, yeah.
Yeah, all the players, like you got Billy Slater, Greg Inglis, Scott Hill, Cooper Cronk, Cam Smith, Darren Lockyer, Justin Hodges, Darius Boyd, Shane Webke, Petro Simonasiva, he got Clive Churchill in that game. It shows you like how good he actually was as a player to get Clive Churchill when you've got at least 3 immortals on that field.
The thing I love the most about that argument is it justifies my choice of putting him in my team.
Yeah, no, I'm leaning towards it now just because of the fact that, you got such an underrated player on a field with, like I said, at least 3 immortals.
Yeah.
You've got probably the best front row pairing ever. You've got a dual international in Brad Thorne. You got 12 future Broncos captains on that squad. Like, you got, this casually Greg Inglis.
And then you have a look, the first scoring play of the game was a penalty where Sean Berrigan was trying to score from dummy half. It was ruled to have the ball ripped out by Billy Slater in a 2-man tackle. Look at this. Before that game, Hoodoo Gurus and In Excess was the pre-match entertainment.
That's horrible.
My Broncos team here, every one of those players played Origin and Internationals.
How many games did Brad Thorne play for Australia? Tell me that.
I don't know.
Because I'm pretty sure he played a few for the All Blacks.
Yeah, different sport. I'm just looking at that 2006 grand final, and I guess that was the shifting of the guard. That was the last premiership for the Broncos in 06, and then Melbourne started their dynasty in 07.
Yeah.
Because you look at after that, you've got your Webke towards the end, Brad Thorne, Tony Carroll, Carlaw, Stagg moves on. But I'm just looking at like these 2 squads: Slater, Geyer, King, Inglis, Cronk, Smith, White, Kidwell, Hoff. How the hell did the Broncos win that one?
No, all you have to do is look at their team.
That's true. You got Lockyer there.
I will admit that
Hodges was at fullback. I forgot about that.
Yeah, slowest fullback in the competition.
Boyd on the wing, Carmichael Hunt on the wing, but Shane Perry.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You had Lockyer there, so.
That's it. And you had Webke and Simonasiva. Thaiday was just a young fella just ripping it up.
Essentially, from what I've read over the time, Bennett just told Shane Perry to
just do your job.
Put everyone where Lockyer wanted to go. So if Lockyer wanted, on the 30-metre line, 15 metres out, that was Shane Perry's job. And then Shane Perry's job was to pass the ball to Lockyer and then back the fuck up.
That's it.
And by all accounts, that's all he had to do, and that's what he won a premiership out of it.
15-8. And then Broncos went over and lost to St Helens 18-14.
Who cares?
That was a good little exercise. So again, thank you, Benny. Thank you, Hazard, for sending your teams in. They go into the bracket. So if you're a fan of any of the teams we haven't covered yet, send it through to us. You can put it on the Facebook page, put it on Facebook Messenger, send it through on Twitter, Instagram, however you want to do it. Get your teams in. We're going to try and wrap this thing up before the season kicks off proper. That'll do us for tonight. Jump on our YouTube. We're getting our videos up there if you want to look at our faces and our steadily growing beards. Apart from that, I'm pretty much done to wait out till Sunday to see if we have a draw between now and then.
No, I reckon that won't come out till next Wednesday.
That's what they said last week. That's cool. We'll wait till next Wednesday, which will probably happen right in our episode. If there's word that the draw will come out Wednesday night, we may record Thursday, depending. So keep an ear out for that.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Six Again. Connect with the show on Twitter, Instagram, and the Six Again website. All links via the show's bio. Be sure to check out Adam's craft beer choice of the week.